Shalom, 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 shalom. First and foremost, giving infinite praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Chakudash. Giving double honor to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom and salutation to all you sincere alchemists across the four winds, pushing this truth with sincerity of heart. I'm your fellow servant, Kasama God from the DC camp, coming at you through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Hakudash, to feed the elect. Now, in this lesson, I want to talk about the book of 2 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, where, I was reading, just trying to get more understanding and, because this is something that we all deal with. There's always, a line in everything that you're doing, and you never really want to cross those lines, and the only way to do that, you have to have wisdom. You have to have awareness as well, self-awareness, spiritual awareness. And I wanted to deal with boldness and being bold. All right, because the reality is, of course, the men of the Lord were bold. All right, why? Because we have the truth. And the Apostle Paul spoke about being bold. And but also he made sure to be clear that his boldness was not based on his fighting ability, his intimidating size or anything like that, but his boldness was of the Spirit of the Lord, and is off of the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, and the experience that he had. All right, so because in this walk, as men, most of us, we come in as young men, and the Heavenly Father is all he's basically what the Lord is doing through his son Yahushua is basically letting us making us aware of who we are. That's what it's all about. It's about knowing about the Lord, knowing about our nationality, and most importantly, knowing who we are. Right? We are trying to find out who we are ultimately, and a lot of times when you're dealing with men, the way we deal in boldness, and we always want to be strong, we want power, we want to appear powerful, but you always have to make sure it's all through the Spirit and it's not carnal affirmation. All right. So basically what I'm going to do is go straight to 2 Corinthians, the 10th chapter. All right. And I'm going to start at 1. It says Paul describes himself, and I like the subtitle as well because it's about self-awareness, because sometimes the issue is sometimes, you being bold in the spirit, but then other men may take it as you being carnal. But sometimes you may think that you're being bold in the spirit, but you're actually being bold carnally. So that's the dynamic, the dichotomy and dynamic that happens often in this gospel. You must have self-awareness, spiritual awareness to know which one is which. All right, so you won't be out there going off. All right, so 2 Corinthians 10:1. Now I, Paul, myself beseech you by the meekness and gentleness of Hamashiach Yahushua, who in presence I am base among you, but being absent and bold towards you. So Paul is saying, when I'm among you physically, I'm base, I'm gentle. So Paul wasn't basically, he wasn't going hard and yelling at cats. When he was in front of him, he wasn't going like that. That's what he's saying. He was being, very humble and a base, understanding the journey, understanding, on the plight. But as you know, it was also as when the leaders around, the men will always try to be in their best behavior. So what would happen is that when Paul would be away, it would be some bullshit that would arise amongst the churches. And that's when a lot of times the letters that Paul wrote was forceful and was really bold. And because things seemed to happen when he wasn't around, when he was absent physically. But when he was around, everybody was on their best behavior. So he didn't need to be, to be all rah-rah in everybody's face or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's what he's describing. It says, but being absent and bold towards you. All right. It says, but I beseech you that I may not be bold when I am present with that confidence. I'm going to read that again. But I beseech you that I may not be bold when I am present with that confidence, wherewith I think to be bold against some, which think of us as if we walked according to the flesh. So Paul said, "I really rather not be." As a matter of fact, let's go to the Bible comparison, man. And I'm gonna make this one quick. It's just a quick insight, quick self-awareness, spiritual awareness lesson. So let's go to a Bible comparison to see what Paul is saying. All right. Let me just go to let me go to the NIV. It says, "I beg you that when I come, I may not have to be as bold as I expect to be towards some people who think that we live by the standards of this world." All right. I beg you, CSB. It says, "I beg you that when I am present, I will not need to be bold with the confidence by which I plan to challenge certain people who think we are behaving according to the flesh." So, he's saying, I hope I don't have to be on people's heads, be on your heads, like some people that I do have to be on their heads. But yet he's talking about how they actually believe that his boldness, right? They believe that his boldness and his tough talk was really off of him. Meaning when they looked at the rebuke that Paul was pushing, you had Israelites that was like, "Oh, he's being all bold, like he wants smoke or something, like you know what I'm saying, like what's up?" Which is basically they were looking at Paul's word and words of boldness as if he was the one talking ish, but it was, but that it wasn't rebuke from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And then that's the dynamic that happens in the churches. So you must be aware of that. If you're one of those individuals, you must be aware that your boldness in the spirit. Now you got to know, is my boldness spiritual, or is my boldness carnal? And then on the flip side, you can't be. Also have to judge the boldness of the brother that's going on you, right, and rebuking you, to know by self-awareness, right? By self-awareness, you would know if the rebuke is if spiritual or if just some carnal-ish, right? So these are dynamics that you must be aware in conduct amongst the brothers. All right, that's how you always, you ain't always gonna be on point, but that you get more answers than questions. All right, so because that's what we are about. We're about, through the Spirit, problem resolvers, and we have the answers in the book. It's just we got to study, and then we have to get experienced. All right, we have to get experienced, but all the answers are in the scriptures. The interactions that the men of the Lord had in the ancient times, it's no different. It's just you got to kind of the Spirit has to kind of show you that these interactions that we have, because Jake is sitting in here thinking that, hey, the interactions and the BS that goes on from time to time in the churches is something that's new. It's nothing new. It's happened in the past. It's just when things happen, it is what it is. Now you got to focus on the answers, okay? And once you experience, then you apply what you learn. So let's keep going. It says, for according to the flesh, that's verse 2. It says, "For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh." All right. So Paul is saying, yeah, although we walk, meaning we move around, as humans, right? Human beings, Israelites, right? Brothers, we don't actually war, meaning when we have this enthusiasm, when we have this zeal, right? When we go hard and we bold on the things that we believe, it's really, Paul says, according to the Spirit of the Lord. That's what he was saying, because clearly you had individuals that were offended at how Paul was talking to them. Some of them, the ones who did self-awareness, realized that, hey, they had to do what they had to do. So Paul didn't have to really, go off when he was around. But you had Israelites that believed that Paul was on some, that Paul was looking for smoke. You know what I'm saying? Mind you, you talking about Israelites, so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You know what I'm saying? And we have that tendency of always looking at language and how we speak to each other, like, trying to see, okay, where's he going with this? It's always like, well, where's he going with this? And unfortunately, with the curses, going back to Deuteronomy 28, the curses, what it does to the flesh, it immediately puts you in a negative mindset where your initial reaction, right, which is a natural reaction, which nature goes back to carnal, right? Your carnal and natural reaction to a man elevating his voice, your brother, right? But a man elevating his voice, it's like, yo, what are you trying to do? You know what I'm saying? Like you trying to, like, what's good, But then the spirit has to take over, and you have to remember that, hey, listen, I can't react. That's why we can't be reactionary. I can't just react to. I have to analyze in the spirit and see what's happening, because everything is off the Lord. Even when a man is acting carnally and he's unaware, you can't react to that carnal, what you perceive, what you believe to be carnal. You still have to fall back in the spirit and analyze the situation. Ask the Lord, to give you the answers, to what's going on, because it's all about finding answers. All right. So it's not about just bumping heads to see who's the tougher, who's the toughest and all that. That's not what it's about. And that's what Paul wanted to make clear, that his boldness was not an intimidating boldness as if he was some tough guy who was moving around like, trying to knock heads off. And he's going to explain that even more. It says, for the weapons of our warfare, not carnal, but mighty through the Most High, to the pulling down of strongholds. So the reason why Paul was going hard, he was going hard according to the teachings of Yahushua. Now, his delivery sometimes had to be what it was, because that's just as Israelites, we have that. All right, we all have that. There's not an Israelite who's just a gentle master, all right, or servant. Like, we all have a gentle and a forward essence in us. All right, it's just the duality. There's times where you have to elevate your voice. You have to be angry according to the situation. But then there's times you also have to be gentle. You have to be whatever the occasion asks for you to be. All right, that's what you have to be. All right, that's something that you learn with experience. All right, that's not just being one thing. All right, so it says, for the weapons of our warfare, not carnal, but mighty through the Most High, through the pulling down of strongholds. So it's about pulling down strongholds, destroying false doctrines, destroying lies. All right. That's the reason why we go, hard as we go. But even right now, you see what's going on. You got certain guys who used to be part of the, Great Millstone, or the guys that are not part of Great Millstone that going off. When we get on them, it's like, well, yeah, y'all are always trying to get at people. Y'all are doing this, y'all are doing that, well, it comes off to them as if we out here like carnally looking for smoke. But clearly, every time we go in, it's always according to, the scriptures. It's always according to the scriptures and the doctrine. All right. It's never a challenge to a battle, to a duel, to a one-on-one fight. So it's not about undermining your masculinity, right? Or your manhood. All right. Because that's something totally different. All right. When you rebuke a man according to the scriptures. You don't try to emasculate him or demean his manhood or nothing like that. That's something, that's also dynamic that must be that you have to have self-awareness about. All right. You have to have self-awareness when it comes to that. All right. So, because that's also a part of the curses, when you have individuals that want to basically stand over somebody else's shoulder and be that guy, and trying to boss cats around and all that. But then you also have individuals that on the flip side, because they don't want to deal with that. Now they go on the flip side and say, ain't nobody gonna be over me. So that's a dynamic. You got cats, and it comes down to the curses. So you have to be self-aware on both sides of what's going on at all time. All right, through the spirit. All right, so now let me go to well, actually, it says, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted himself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of a Mashiach Yahushua. So it's for you and your thoughts to be captive to the obedience of a Mashiach Yahushua, not captive to the obedience of Paul. And that's what Paul's speaking. He's saying, I'm not saying this so you can be under me. I'm ruling over you. No, I'm saying this because your ruler, our ruler, Hamashiach Yahushua, sent me to tell you that this is how things should go. All right. This is how righteousness is established. All right. And then, but certain guys, they're looking at like, hey, man, this is some carnal stuff. You know what I'm saying? This man is challenging my manhood. Now you cannot look at it that way. You got to be spiritual about it. All right. And the men of the Lord that's rebuking, of course, also has to know that the rebuke, you rebuke the man. It's not about challenging the man's manhood and all that, because then you're going to bring about a carnal essence, and that's just going to take away from the whole true essence of what you was trying to do, which was help your brother. All right. So, and it goes back to the second commandment, treat your brother, your neighbor, as the way you will be treated. You don't want to be emasculated. You don't want to be, now, don't get me wrong now. I mean, if a man